Welcome to Social Media Trainwrecks, the Friday show where we roll up on the week's biggest brand disaster and pick through the wreckage. I'm Giovanni Gallucci, and this week, Chloe Dawn's in the passenger seat. We find the dumb decision, the post that poured gas on the fire, and the one move that would have saved them. Chloe, what are we rubbernecking at?
Geo, we're doing Cracker Barrel. A chain that sells nostalgia by the pound tried to delete its own grandpa, and this week it finally cost the CEO her job.
Now that's a Friday. Pull us up to the crash site because this one's been 11 months coming and the bill just showed up.
So here's the wreck. Monday, the board announced Julie Massino is stepping down as CEO. 3 years in, and she's out.
Out. And for the folks keeping score at home, what actually got her there?
A logo. Back in August of last year, Cracker Barrel rolled out a new look and took the old man off the sign.
The old man. Let's name him because he's the whole story. That's Uncle Herschel. Real person. He was the founder's actual uncle, and for decades he sat there in the logo, in his overalls, leaning on a barrel. Last summer, somebody decided he had to go.
They went minimalist. Just the words Cracker Barrel on a gold background. Clean font, no drawing, no barrel, no Herschel.
And here's what makes this a 5-alarm fire instead of a design tweak. Cracker Barrel doesn't sell food. Well, it sells food. But that's not what people are buying.
They're buying 1974.
They're buying a feeling. The rocking chairs on the porch, the peg game on the table, the sense that you pulled off the interstate and walked into somebody's grandma's front room. The whole brand is a time machine, and the old man on the sign was the ticket. So the second you sand him off, you're not modernizing a logo. You're telling your most loyal customer their memory was embarrassing.
And this wasn't some no-name mark. How long had he been up there?
Decades. Cracker Barrel opened in 1969, and that old country store look has been the personality basically the whole time. When something's been the face of a brand for 50 years, it stops being a logo. It's a landmark. You don't get to quietly bulldoze a landmark and call it a refresh.
So why'd they do it? What was the pitch in the room?
The stated reason was the clean word mark reads better on a phone screen and on a highway billboard at 70 miles an hour, and they wanted to pull in a younger, broader crowd. On paper, that's a normal modernization brief.
Chasing a younger crowd sounds like every brand ever, though.
It is, and that's the trap. Chasing new is fine. Chasing new by insulting old is suicide. The reporting framed it as reaching a more diverse, next-generation guest. And the loyal customer read that as, they're redecorating the house to impress people who aren't even here yet, and they're throwing out my chair to do it.
Oof.
And it wasn't a cheap little rebrand either. It was the flagpole on a $700 million overhaul. New menus, remodeled dining rooms, the works, across 600-some stores. And the thing they chose to plant that flag on was the logo. That's the bonehead move. Not modernizing. Leading with the one piece of the brand that was pure emotion and zero function.
So the mistake was where they started.
The mistake was touching the sacred thing first and loudest. You can quietly upgrade a kitchen. Nobody riots over a new booth. But the logo is the flag. Change the flag and you're making a statement about who the tribe is now. They made that statement to a customer base that never asked for a new identity.
And that customer base has opinions.
That customer base has a group chat. Within hours, it was everywhere. People posting the old logo like a memorial, calling it woke, calling it soulless, calling it corporate. It stopped being about a restaurant and turned into a referendum on whether America gets to keep its old stuff.
It got big fast.
It got enormous. Jumped the fence out of food Twitter and into national news in about a day. Even the president posted about it. And I want to be clear, the politics isn't the lesson here. The lesson is the speed. A logo they thought was an internal design decision was a national story by dinner time, and the brand had no hand on the wheel.
And the money noticed.
The money always notices. The stock got hit, something like $100 million in market value gone in a matter of days, over a drawing of a man leaning on a barrel. That's the part every brand needs to sit with. Sentiment isn't soft. It shows up on the balance sheet.
Okay, the internet's on fire, the stock's bleeding, Grandpa's trending. What does Cracker Barrel actually do?
They fold. Fast. Inside of a week, they put Uncle Herschel back on the sign and said, "Our bad, he's staying." A couple weeks after that, they killed the remodel plans too.
So they listened. Isn't that the thing you're always telling me to do?
It is, and give them a sliver of credit for not digging in. Plenty of brands would have white-knuckled it for a month and made it worse. But I still only give this response a C.
A C? They fixed it. Why not higher?
Because the speed cuts both ways. Reversing in 6 days doesn't just say we're listening, it also says we never had any conviction in the first place. Think about it. You spend who knows how many months and dollars on a rebrand, you roll it out with a straight face, and then one bad weekend online and you throw the whole thing in the ditch. That whiplash tells your customer the leadership doesn't actually know what the brand is.
So being fast to fold is its own tell.
It's a tell. The ideal isn't a fast reversal. The ideal is never needing one. A confident brand either doesn't make the change or makes it and has the spine to explain it and ride it out. Cracker Barrel found the worst combination. Big swing, instant flinch. They paid for the rebrand and paid for the retreat and got nothing for either.
What would a better response have even sounded like once it was already on fire?
If you're going to reverse, you reverse like you mean it, and you make it a love letter instead of an apology. You come out and say, "We heard you, Uncle Herschel's family, and he's not going anywhere. We got excited about the future and forgot to bring our oldest friends along." Put the customer's feeling at the center. What they actually did was closer to a hostage video. Quick, stiff, get me out of here.
Did the damage stop when the logo went back up?
No, and that's the tail on this thing. Over the next year, the numbers got ugly. Sales went soft, profit fell off a cliff. One measure of their operating earnings dropped better than 80%. Now, you can't pin all of that on one drawing, but the logo was the moment the market started asking whether leadership understood its own restaurant. Once that question's in the air, every bad quarter gets read through it.
Let's back up to prevention. Could they've modernized without lighting the match?
Easily. And this is the maddening part. Same as almost every wreck we cover, the save was cheap. You keep Uncle Herschel, he was never the problem. You want a mark that's cleaner on phone screens? Fine. You tighten him up, simplify the lines, keep the man, and lose the clutter. Everybody from Kentucky Fried Chicken to Starbucks has modernized a mascot without murdering him.
So evolve the icon. Don't evict it.
Evolve it, don't evict it. And you roll it slow. You don't drop a total identity change one Tuesday morning as a done deal. You tease it, you bring the audience along, you let the superfans feel like they were in on it. When people feel consulted, they defend the change. When they feel ambushed, they torch it.
And who wasn't in that room? Who is the missing person?
Somebody whose whole job was to speak for the porch. The regular who's been coming every Sunday after church for 30 years. Everybody in that meeting was optimizing for new. New customer, new screens, new menu. Nobody at the table had the assignment of standing up and saying, "Hold on, what does this do to the people who already love us?" That chair was empty, and it cost $100 million and a CEO.
All right, stormproofing. The part people screenshot. Somebody's out there right now running a brand that isn't a country cooking chain, thinking this isn't my problem. Why is it?
Because the trap has nothing to do with biscuits. The trap isn't knowing which parts of your brand you're actually allowed to touch. Every brand has assets that are functional and assets that are sacred. The functional stuff, your menu, your app, your store layout, you can change all day. The sacred stuff, your logo, your mascot, your founding story, your catchphrase, that belongs to the audience, not to you. Cracker Barrel picked up something sacred and handled it like it was functional.
So how do you tell the difference before you're on fire?
You build one habit and you write it down. Before you change any brand element, you ask a single question. If we take this away, does a chunk of our audience feel like they lost something? If the answer is yes, that's not a design decision anymore. That's a relationship decision, and it goes through a completely different door.
And if it's a relationship decision?
Then you wargame the backlash before you post, not after. You put the ugliest version of the reaction on a whiteboard. The memorial posts, the angry quote tweets, the big account that piles on. If you can't live with that picture, you don't ship it. And if you decide it's worth it anyway, at least you've got your response written before the fire starts instead of scrambling at midnight.
You always come back to knowing the audience.
Because it's the whole game. Your brand isn't what your boardroom says it is. It's what your customer feels when they see your sign. Cracker Barrel's leadership looked at Uncle Herschel and saw an outdated graphic. The customer looked at him and saw their childhood. The gap between those two views is exactly the size of the crater.
And the nostalgia they tried to ditch.
Was the single most valuable thing they owned. That's the cruelest joke in the whole wreck. In a world where every restaurant's turning into the same gray coffee shop, being the warm old place that hasn't changed is a superpower. They tried to trade their one unfair advantage for the chance to look like everybody else.
They've got a new guy coming in. Restaurant veteran. Used to run Bloomin' Brands. What's his first social move?
His first move is to shut up about reinvention for a good long while. The brand just told him, in dollars, what it's and what it isn't. So you go the other direction. You lean all the way into the porch. Put Uncle Herschel front and center. Make the nostalgia the whole campaign instead of the thing you're ashamed of. Let the loyalists feel like the grown-ups came back. You earn the right to modernize later by proving first that you know what you're sitting on.
So the one-liner a listener leaves with.
Know what you're not allowed to touch. Every brand has a grandpa on the sign. Some piece the audience owns more than you do. Modernize everything around it. Leave him on the porch.
Don't delete Grandpa.
Don't delete Grandpa. Frame that one and hang it in the marketing department.
That's our rec for the week. Cracker Barrel, a logo, an old man on a barrel, and a modernization that cost $100 million and the corner office.
The lesson travels no matter what you sell. Know the difference between the parts of your brand you own and the parts your audience owns. Touch the second kind without asking, and no rebrand budget on earth will save you. I'm Giovanni Gallucci. This has been Social Media Trainwrecks. We'll see you next Friday at the next crash site.